Weekend. Book TV, television for serious readers.
And welcome to New York City. C-SPAN is on location here. It's a home of America's publishing industry. It's a home of history museums, American culture, and it's also the home to several American historians. And we had the pleasure and the honor of being allowed to interview Robert Caro, two-time Pulitzer Prize winner, in his office and in his home. Here's our interview. Well, we walk into the office here, and the first thing we really notice, Mr. Caro, is this cork board, which we are not allowed to get close to.
Well, you can get close. I just don't want people to. It's just my notes to myself. So
really,
this is the outline for the rest of my books that I'm working on
for
now.
the 5th volume of the LBJ.
Correct.
Okay, what's up here? Can you walk us through a little bit of what's up there?
Well, I don't want to do that.
Not a problem.
What it is I outline in great detail the whole book before I start writing. So I just took this off. I finished this. This is like I've written, well, the page I'm working on is 983. So I've written 983 pages. That's this, okay? And this is the rest of the book. So the way I am, I have to have it all outlined. I can't just start writing. I have to know the beginning to the end, all the way to the last book. Like, if you want to know something that I don't think I've ever, see, I can't, when I was doing The Power Broker, I finished the research, and I couldn't figure out how to write the book. It was too long, just a mass of stuff. I really didn't know what to do. I was just stuck. And then I went to, he was giving a talk out at the fairground, the World's Fairgrounds. And in the first couple of rows, he was opening a new exhibit or something like that. And in the first couple of rows were all his Moses men, the engineers and all. So I was behind them, because he wasn't talking to me anymore. But I went to, every time he appeared in public, I went to see him. And the idea of his talk was the ingratitude of the public toward great men, meaning him. And he's really talking, why aren't people more grateful to me? And I'm sitting behind these men, and they're basically saying, I'm not going to pretend I remember the exact words, oh, RM is right, RM is right. Why aren't people grateful? Why aren't they more grateful? And all of a sudden, I thought of the last line of the book, which is, why weren't they grateful? And all of a sudden, I knew how to outline the whole book. And I remember I ran back to my office. I couldn't wait to get back. And I sat down and outlined The Power Broker from beginning to end, just in a rush. So ever since then, you know, you learn stuff about yourself. It sounds like you figured it out, but it's really just luck. I can't write a book until I know the last line. So the last lines of every book are important to me.
You know, that's interesting, because when I'm doing an interview, the hardest part for me is the first question. Oh. I don't know how to start. And okay, once I get going, we're going to be fine. But that first question drives me bonkers. You know, you think you have to have this master question. So, does the first line of a book bother you?
No, if I know the ending, I can outline right up to it, and I put the outline up on this cork board, and I follow it. So that's all.
And everything is typed on that That,
It's a Smith Corona.
typewriter there, right?
Pardon me?
Everything you've typed, every book you've written has come from that typewriter?
No, not from that one, but from a Smith Corona Electra 210.
Are you a fast typer?
Yes.
Does your typing keep up with your thinking?
No. Neither does my writing. Yeah.
So everything is written in longhand first,
Yes.
then typed on there.
Yes.
So, two final questions about your upcoming volume on LBJ,
Okay.
and then we'll drop it, I promise. When should we expect it?
Bad question.
Okay. Second question, does it exist anywhere except here in your office?
No. No.
Knopf doesn't have a version yet or anything?
No, no. I never let my edit. No one sees anything until it's all done. I don't show it during the. Only one time in all these years, I ran out of money doing the Johnson books, and I knew it was going to take. So I had to ask for more money. And then Gottlieb said, well, then I have to see something. So I gave him what I had written up to that point. That's the only time that I ever showed anybody anything.
Why not use a computer? Have you tried that before, or are you just very comfortable with that typewriter?
Well, I'm very comfortable with the typewriter. You know, the way modern things are, Peter, everything's fast, speed is good. As it happens, I happen to think slow is good. And I am slow, so no one could be slower. But this makes me think. I don't want to, I'm very fast. I'm a very fast writer. When I was at Newsday, I was the fastest rewrite man. Like if they had a plane crash at LaGuardia, you'd sit there with the headphones on. Newsday had 5 or 6 editions, and you had to do a different lead for each edition, and no one was faster than me. But when I was doing the, you know, it sounds like I'm so smart. I mean, these are accidents. But when I was doing the first book, I said, no, you're doing it too fast. You're not thinking enough. You have to make yourself think. It's too easy for you to write. You have to make yourself think. So I slow myself down by doing it in longhand first, because that's slower. That's why I do it.
I noticed over in the library portion of your office quite a few books by David Halberstam.
Yes.
Are you or were you a fan of Mr.
Yes.
Halberstam?
Well, first we were good friends. You know, his book on Vietnam, The Best and the Brightest, is one of the great books of American history. And he got it all right. It was like I spent so much time interviewing the same people he did from the Johnson administration, and over again, oh, he misquoted me. He misquoted me. He got this wrong. He didn't. He got it all right.
I'd gone to Vietnam as a young man, 28 years old, in 1962, 43 years ago, and had gotten caught up in the fact that it didn't work, and did this pessimistic reporting which angered first John Kennedy and then Lyndon Johnson, who called Neil Sheehan and me traitors to our country. I went 2 for 2 there for a while. I didn't make the Nixon enemies list, but so I didn't get the hat trick. But in '67 I went back, and by then we had 500,000 men there. Men, not so much women. And I was struck with an enormous melancholia because I didn't think we could win. I thought it was a stalemate, which meant that we would lose, because in the phrase of my colleague Bernard Fall, we were walking in the footsteps, the same footsteps as the French, although dreaming different dreams. And I spent 68 covering the fallout of the war in that conflicted year. And then when it was over, I started doing the piece on Bundy. And then I thought that it could be a book.
The Best and the Brightest is one of the great works of American book fiction, nonfiction. I live on the corner on Central Park West. So for years, for 22 years, I had an office, a one-room office in an office building, and I wrote 3 books there. And I loved that office. I was on 57th Street, 250 West 57th Street. And then they sold it to a different real estate developer or whatever. And it was a building with a lot of one-room offices, you know, literary agents, writers like me. Joe Heller was, the famous writers.
Catch-22.
Joe Heller had an office there, Jerzy Kaczynski, and a lot of writers that you had heard of who were good. And we all had one room. And then the new owner started converting the floors from one-room offices to one tenant per floor. They kicked out all the... So I was on floor 22. So I think they had 29 floors. So they were getting down. When they got down to 24, and what they did was you have 90 days to get out. And what I didn't want to happen was to be looking for real estate in New York with 90 days to do it. So as it happens, I have a really nice real estate broker and lives in my building. And he said, Bob, he was always saying to me for years, Bob, I have an office for you. And I kept saying, no, I have an office. That morning, when they got down to the 24th floor, and I realized I was shortly going to get kicked out, he says, Bob, I have an office for you. I said, show it to me. So he walked me over here. It's 2 doors away. And I said, great, buy it. And he says, well, you know, I'm sure we can negotiate the price. I said, Brian, buy it. And I love this place. It's as you see, I have enough room for all my books. But let me show you something. So these are starting at over here. These are all the interviews that I do. Like, for example, well, let's take one, Horace Busby. I interviewed Busby, I think, 13 times.
Who was Horace Busby?
No one remembers his name anymore. But he went to work for Lyndon Johnson. He was the editor of the Daily Text. And Johnson liked what he was writing. So when Busby was like 21, when he graduated, he went to work for Lyndon Johnson. And although no one remembers his name now because Bill Moyers and all took over, it's Busby who was the aide closest to Johnson for, I have to look in here, more than 10 years. It's like a son to him. So I would talk with him from morning till night. We'd start in the morning, we'd just talk, we'd have lunch, go on. And then, of course, what I do, I take notes on a stenographer's pad.
Contemporaneous notes?
Oh, yes. And then that night, my rule is I never go to bed until I've typed up the interview. So they sit in this drawer, and then when my book comes out, when I'm outlining the book, you'll see I do a very detailed outline. I take the interview and I put in whatever he says that relates to the point that I want to make. Like Johnson really believed in helping black children, okay? And he has some wonderful anecdotes about that. And then in my outline, I put in I for interview, I-11. So I use this quote, to illustrate that point. So for the Power Broker, I know because they made me count it once, I did 522 interviews. So then for the Johnson books, these are the different people that I interviewed. Joe Califano, who was,
Les Gelb.
Peter Gelb.
Peter Gelb.
Yeah. This is Doris Kearns Goodwin and her husband, Dick Goodwin.
Right.
This is Hubert Humphrey, I interviewed years and years ago. This is Ted Kennedy, I interviewed him so many times we became friends. I introduced him.
So Mr. Caro, how would you approach somebody like Ted Kennedy or Hubert Humphrey? Did they know who you were enough that the doors opened?
Good question. At the beginning, nobody knew who I was. When I was doing the Power Broker, no one knew who I was. And everybody said, including my first publisher, nobody's going to read a book on Robert Moses. So I had the world's smallest advance, right? It was very hard to get interviews. Now, as it happens, people are happy to talk to me. In fact, people call me up and say, "You haven't interviewed me yet." I said, "Well," he says, and they say, "Well, I have this wonderful story. I remember this incident." So it's the opposite. I have too many interview requests. But I interview people over I interview people over and over again, the ones who are important to me.
Why?
It's very interesting. If you looked at these things, you'd see a difference between what they're telling me the first time and what they're telling me after we become friends. Sometimes they tell you whole things that they didn't mention the first time. And sometimes they remember more details. I'm always asking for more detail. I'm always saying, what would I see? Like they say, Johnson, he was so dominating in the Oval Office. I'd say, well, what do you mean? And they say, well, he was always jumping up and walking around and looking at things. And I'd say, well, looking at what? And he says, well, sometimes I'm talking about one interview after it. Then they say, oh, I didn't tell you. I remember he had in his office the ticker tapes of the wire services, Associated Press, United Press, and Reuters. He'd go over there as the stories were coming out, and he was so anxious to read them that he'd bend down and open the lid and pull the paper out like this to see the last things. So the more you ask them, I learned, if you're just willing to go back, you'll find out more, or more honest things. But interviewing people, too many people, because things are so fast today, So they think an interview is a quick asking a few questions and going away. Well, my feeling is if you're just willing to sit there, the things they tell you, they're either going to add details to them, or they're going to tell you entire new things. I think interviewing is sort of becoming, because, things for television and whatever, you have to get it on that night. You have to do it fast. But I don't have to do it fast. I can do it slow. And I can go back and talk to someone and say, last time you told me that he was sending the troops to Vietnam, and he said to you, this, and I can say, what else did he say to you? Where was he sitting was he upset when he sent it to you? And if you're willing to sit there long enough, you get a different picture. So for the Power Brokers, I say I did 522 interviews. They were really hard to get because no one had ever done a book on Robert Moses. Everyone was afraid of Robert Moses, you know, and really no one wanted to talk to me. Now it's sort of happily the opposite. But I interviewed, you know, for the first volume, the last people who were alive when he was growing up. Interviews Johnson City. These were the people who lived in Johnson City with him when he was growing up. I interviewed Lady Bird 4 or 5 times. But each time, you know what?
Did you feel that she got more honest with you with each interview, or more open?
She was, well, she was talked to me a lot. But I remember I told Ina, I just spent 3 hours with a person, not one word was going to cross her lips that she hadn't planned in advance to tell me. She was maybe the toughest interview that I ever had. But at the same time, she really loved Lyndon, you know. And was more like talking to someone about someone they loved than about a president. So that was it was helpful in a different way than other interviews. I'm not sure I'm being clear, you know what I mean? Very personal things.
And if I remember reading in Working, you wrote that she acknowledged some of the other women in Johnson's life.
That was amazing to me, because, well, you know, if you've read Lyndon Johnson, you know, slept with a lot of people, okay? But in fact, there was this one woman, Alice Glass, who he really loved, I felt. And she was part of his life for a long time. And Lady Bird used to have her to the ranch. She came to the White House. Lady Bird dealt with all Lyndon Johnson's, I didn't even call them affairs, but sleeping with people. She just accepted it, I think. And she would talk to me about Alice Glass. I forgot this. It's been so many years since I had this interview. So this was out at the ranch. So she was sitting at the head of the table, and I was sitting here with my notebook. And she said something, you know, Alice Glass was there about some incident. So I hadn't mentioned her name. And she said, you know, Alice Glass, the quote's in the book, Alice Glass was the most elegant woman I ever saw. She taught Lyndon so much about how to dress. She taught Lyndon this, she taught Lyndon that. I was so embarrassed that I didn't look up from my stenographer's notebook. I just sat there taking notes until we moved on to another subject. But the interviews with Lady Bird were fascinating, very helpful to me. But I also interviewed, like everybody I could find who was still alive in Johnson City when he was growing up. Now that was, you know, I grew up in New York City. So these were the opposite of city people. They weren't used to talking to writers or reporters. But at the same time, there was a kind of honorableness about them that they wouldn't lie. And if you knew the questions, you know, as you go, you hear about something, you say, oh, I didn't ask so-and-so about that, you know. So you go back. My thing is you have to go back and interview. So I got a picture that I hope about what it was like to grow up in Texas, in the hill country, in this remote area, with not much of a college, you know, not much of a high school, what it was like to be Lyndon Johnson when he was growing up. So I would drive out every morning to Johnson City and talk to these old, very elderly, because you'd have to be very elderly ladies. Most of them were widows, as I remember. And you got this picture. It was fascinating to me because I was a city boy. I had no idea what it was like to grow up in a remote town and want to be president of the United States. Because, you know, Johnson would say this. When he was a boy, he worked on the road gang. He pulled the Fresno, which meant they had 2 mules, and then they had the way they graded a road, they had a huge metal thing, and the front edge was sharpened, and they had 2 mules at the front pulling it across the earth, and it leveled it off. So someone stood behind the big slab, had 2 handles attached, and you put a hand on each handle, and then you put the reins from the mules, because you didn't have a hand free, around your back. So I wrote, he worked as a boy in harness with the mules, you know. So you can't learn so he found out how hard life could be. He didn't want to go to college. But after he worked on I wrote that in the book. However, after he worked on the road gang, he went to college to get out of having to do that the rest of his life. So you learn about a kind of a loneliness. You know, you drive to someone's house, you find, okay, you get a name of an elderly lady, and you make an appointment, and the directions are, you drive out of Austin on Route 22, 41 miles, and look for the cattle crossing on your left. You turn left and you go 22 miles on a road, and the road's unpaved. And at the end of it, there's a house. And you realize you haven't passed another house. And they just got telephones a few years ago. How lonely could these lives be? Incredible loneliness, you know? And again, it was the same thing. You had to, the first time, they just were suspicious of you. So you had to go back. But if you went back and they felt they could trust you, they told you things. So the picture of Lyndon Johnson, of course, in the book is very different from any other picture of him before. And I didn't get that in the first interviews. I got it by going back and interviewing the same people who grew up with him over and over again.
You moved to the hill country for a while,
3 years.
Yeah.
I remember I told Dinah, we're going to have to live down here. She said, really? You know, okay. So we rented a house really on the edge of the hill country. During the week, I'd work in the Johnson Library. Ina and I would work going through the papers in the Johnson Library. But every Saturday, they closed. The library was only open half a day on Saturdays. So in the afternoon, I'd drive out and do an interview. And on Sundays, I'd drive around. It seemed like every interview I did was 180 miles from the last one because the state was an empty state. It hadn't urbanized then. But it was fascinating. I mean, I was a city boy. You say, what was it like to live out here? You know, you brought your family out in the 1870s when it was still Comanche country. You know, it really was. And you say, what was it like? This is the frontier. See, I feel one of the things that's lacking from American history are books about what it was really like to be a wife in one of these houses when you were alone all day. Because as soon as your children were old enough to help in the fields, they had to help their father in the fields because they didn't have enough money to hire hired help. So the women would be alone all day, and they'd have to go out and get the water out of the well. And I remember a woman named Ava Cox. She said, "You're a city boy. You don't know how heavy a bucket of water is, do you?" I said, "No." So she took me out, and she lifted up the door of her garage, and there was her water bucket with this long frayed rope, okay? And she took it out to the well, which of course they didn't use it anymore, they had electricity now. And she pushed aside the wooden cover on the well. She said, "Now drop the bucket in," and I did. And it went down, so the water level in the hill country was generally around 75 feet deep. So it went down. And she said, "Now pull it up." And you know, it's heavy. She said, "You're a city boy. You don't know how heavy a bucket of water is." And she said, "It was too heavy for me." So she said, we lifted it up this way. They put the rope over their shoulder and what they called walking away with the water like this. She said they had to bring it all in for washing, doing the clothes, for cooking. Every bucket of water had to be brought up from the well that way. You say, this is a life Bob Caro, I can't even imagine living a life like this.
So when you were living in the hill country in Johnson City, were they accepting of you, a New York author?
Absolutely not at first. You know, people ask why it takes my book so long. Because a lot of it is you just have to keep going back to the same people. By the end of it, I knew everybody in Johnson City. They all I believe they liked me. And they felt I was trying to do an honest picture of their lives, which was a life that was vanishing. You know, it's like we went down, the Power Broker came out in 1974. So the next year, I think, we went to Texas, or 76. Texas had not yet urbanized. It was a state of small towns, like Johnson City. And Peter, you felt like you were entering a different world, you know? I felt if I wanted so much of Johnson as a president is hard to understand. Both good at Vietnam and bad, okay? But it all goes back to this incredibly hard boyhood that he had. And I felt if you wanted to write honestly about Lyndon Johnson, you couldn't rush over it. You had to make people, readers, you had to try to make readers understand what this life was like, that he knew he had to get out of, okay? People say, what was this incredible drive that he had, you know? Well, I felt after my time in Johnson City, I understood where it came from.
Do you think every president is worthy of a 5-volume Pulitzer Prize winning series?
No. I mean, you say, Lyndon Johnson, okay, Medicare. Oh, I just finished. They have been proposing health care for the old people for decades. The Southern conservatives in Congress were never going to let this through. The story of how he gets Medicare through, which I hope I told okay, say, that's a miracle. What he did, Medicare, all student loans, secondary education, higher education, Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, immigration reform. He did it all. And then he did Vietnam, which was just horrible. So you say...
Is Vietnam the hardest part to write?
Oh, good question. Yeah. It's very... I'm writing it now. And it's very... really depressing. I just said, well, I want to show... I'll tell you what I just did. I want to show what it's like to fight in the jungle. So you get all the, it's really hard. You get all the interviews and oral histories from these soldiers. You wake up in the morning and they're 5-inch leeches under your skin, you know. It's really depressing. You know, they had 58,000 American dead, 350,000 serious casualties, that's amputations, things like that. Well, I don't want to talk it out, I'm writing now. Sure. Vietnam is really hard to write.
Renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply. That reply is being given as I speak to you tonight. Air action is now in execution against certain supporting facilities in North Vietnam which have been used in these hostile operations.
On a personal level, do you remember living through the Vietnam War, and what was your position on it?
We were broke. We were completely broke. We had sold our house. We were living in this apartment in the Bronx that we hated. That's what I was doing at that time.
You were working for Newsday at the time?
Well, I had quit to write The Power Broker.
That's right.
I thought it was going to take me a year. I had the world's smallest advance, $5,000, right? No one wanted a book on Robert Moses. So after I told Einar it was going to take me a year to do it. I thought I was going to be done in a year. At the end of a year, I had barely started, you know. So we sold our house. Einar sold the house. I mean, we had a little house on Long Island, which we really loved. And I came home one day and Einar said, we sold the house today. So with that, we moved to an apartment in the Bronx. You know, we didn't have money to go out. No one was interested in the book, including my publisher. So it was a very, you asked what I was doing in the 60s, that's what I was doing.
So here in your office, we've got, probably 1,000 books right here. How many books do you have?
I have no idea. A lot.
Have you read all these books on this shelf?
No. But I need them all. You know, well, let's say I've read in or I've taken what I need out of all the books. You know, some of them you're looking for one incident, it's something like that.
Above your head are the complete tapes of Lyndon Johnson.
Yes.
How valuable were the recordings that he made during his presidency?
Unbelievable. He had, in his office, he had a device that he could turn the tape. He would signal, he would press it with his knee, and out in the other office, a secretary named Marie Famer would turn on the tape recorder. But sometimes Johnson forgot to turn it off. So you have 4 or 5 hours of Lyndon Johnson talking. Since he did everything on the phone, you have 4 or 5 hours of being president. It's unbelievable. And at the same time, you say, what's taking this book so long? It takes days, to listen to all these tapes.
The fact that the Johnson daughters released those, warts and all, that was a pretty big step.
Well, they didn't have anything.
Oh, they did not have to approve it?
No. Well, I better not answer that because I don't remember, but he basically gave everything to do with him belongs to the Johnson Library.
Mr. Caro, have you always published with Knopf?
Yes.
I see The Power Broker is a Knopf book.
Yes.
Did you know Blanche and Alfred Knopf at all?
No, never. Oh, well, one, I met Alfred Knopf once because when I was editing the book, he was sort of mostly retired, so he didn't come in. So they gave me his office to work at. I was sitting at his desk, and I looked up, and there he was in the doorway, and we had a brief conversation.
You left the office pretty quickly, I take it.
Well, he didn't ask me to. I met him once.
So, working on The Power Broker, first of all, how did you get to know about Bob Moses, Robert Moses?
How did I get to know about him?
About him, yeah. When did he first cross your transom?
Well, in a lot of different ways. He wanted to build a bridge from Oyster Bay to Rye. If he had had his way, he would have covered Long Island Sound with bridges from one end to the other. So there's the Triborough Bridge, the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge, the Throgs Neck Bridge. Now the next one was going to be a bridge from Oyster Bay to Rye.
That would have been about 5-10 miles, wouldn't it?
As I remember, 23.
There you go.
And that may be wrong. It's been too many years. But Newsday, basically assigned me to look into that. So you didn't have to look into it very far to know this is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. All this traffic from New England would have come down onto the Long Island Expressway, which was already jammed. The piers of the bridge would have had to be so long and so big that the piers that held it up would have to be so big that they actually, I remember this, have caused tidal pollution in Long Island Sound. So I wrote this story saying it was a bad idea or whatever. I don't really have that. And the next thing I knew, I had a friend in Albany then, and she called and said, Bob, you better come back up here. And I said, oh, I don't think it's necessary. I think I took care of that bridge. She said, Bob, Robert Moses was up here yesterday. I think you ought to come back. And I remember driving up there and walking into the press area of the assembly as they were approving some preliminary study for this bridge by like 143 to 6. I said, who is this guy? That's where, who is this guy? And the more then you thought about it, and you said, but everything you do, he did. you go to Jones Beach, you know, we lived on Long Island then. Well, he built Jones Beach. You drive on the park, the Northern State Parkway, he built it. The Southern State, he built it. The Long Island Expressway, he was building the expressway as at the time I was writing. And then you would type on your typewriter, City Park Commissioner Robert Moses. He said, well, what does that have to do with the fact that he's building the Long Island Expressway? Well, you would say, New York State Power Authority Chairman Robert Moses, and you'd say, well, that's these two big dams up in the Niagara River. What does that have to do with him building Jones Beach? And it said, did he do it like I tried to do in the introduction? He built it all, the whole city, the public infrastructure of the city that we know is all the creation of this one man who was never elected to anything. You know, nobody really knows who he is. That's how I got interested in him.
You know, and what I found interesting is that you write that it was really your first understanding of how politics really works. It's not a voter votes for somebody and then things happen, but this hidden power.
Yes, well, that's the right question. Because you couldn't start. Let's say I was a reporter then. And so I had won some minor journalistic awards for my investigative reporting. So I thought I knew what was going on. But when I started thinking about Robert Moses, I realized I had no idea what was really going on. I had no idea how power worked. It obviously had nothing to do with being elected, because he was never elected to anything. And he seemed to have more power than anyone who was elected, more than any mayor, more than any governor, more than any mayor or governor put together. So I was interested, you know, as a reporter, you said, well, I really want to explain to people, to readers, how government works, how power works. And the realization came to me through Robert Moses, I have no idea how power works. And it seems to me, neither does anybody else. And it all revolves around this guy, Robert Moses. So I wanted, at that time, I just been awarded a Nieman Fellowship to go to Harvard for a year. So Ina's mother was very sick that year, so she didn't come up with me most of the year. So the Niemans have a lot of social events, but I don't like to go to social events without Ina. So Harvard gave everybody a little office, so I had an office. I had a lot of evenings alone. And you get to think about things. The bad thing about being a reporter is you're always running. You never have time to stop and think. At least, let me not say everybody, me, that was my problem. But all of a sudden I had a lot of time to start. You said, well, you got into this because you want to explain to people how power works. You have no idea how power works. And it all has to do with this guy, Robert Moses. And no one else seems to be writing about it or explaining it at all. So I wrote a letter. I only knew one editor. I wrote a letter to him saying I wanted to do this book. Well, first I thought I'd do a long series. I forgot all this. Then I said, well, no, it's too long. You can't ever do it in the context of a newspaper. You're going to have to write a book on it. So I wrote it to this one editor that I knew, and I got this $5,000 advance. The more I went into it, the more I said, you know, if I can explain this, I'll be explaining something about power that is not understood. I mean, I didn't understand it. How does he do this, you know? Everybody's against this bridge, yet somehow the bridge gets built. Do you know what I mean? And then you saw the deeper you got into it, the more you felt, well, Well, he's building all this public housing. You couldn't touch anything about him very much without knowing how incredibly racist he was. You said, well, New York City, you know, today, by the measurements, New York City is still the most segregated city in America. That's because all this public housing, 500,000 units of it, he would only build in places that were already ghettos, that were ready, okay? So look at the influence that he had on everything, on everything. So you really wanted to do this book. Well, we had no money, and you know, as I say, we sold the house. That got us through another year. There were years to go on it. It was a very sort of a lonely time until I went to work in the public library. There was a Frederick Lewis Allen room, so I met other writers. But it was very hard in some ways. If you look at the first edition of The Power Broker, the back cover is simply a picture of Robert Moses. There aren't the quotes on it. There aren't blurbs on it. That's because my editor, Bob Gottlieb, asked me when the manuscript was done, asked for a list of famous writers and I said, well, I don't know any famous writers. So they didn't have any quotes to put on it. But of course, as soon as it came out, it got all these great quotes. So the second edition has all the quotes, and it doesn't have a picture of Moses, it has the quotes on them.
Well, Pulitzer Prize, when it comes out in 1974, did the book take off right away?
It took off in the way of people said very nice things about it, okay, reviewers. It didn't take off in sales. I think it was just too long, you know. But the fact is that it's never stopped selling. I mean, I don't know, you could look up, or Paul will tell you how many printings they've had, about 54 or 55 printings. It's never stopped. I mean, it's thrilling to me as a writer to think that, so that came out in 74, so that's how many years ago? 52 years ago. It's still selling, just like a new book. It's thrilling to me.
And you got to interview Robert Moses 7 times.
Yes.
Again, you've talked about multiple interviews, that it's very important to do. Did those interviews get more sophisticated, or did you learn more as they went on?
Well, the answer to your question is yes, because you could ask him about things he did when he was young. You know, of course, about his boyhood, about his going to college, his early jobs, and he talked about those. When you started to get up into, I remember, as soon as you started to get up into, now he has power, what's he doing with the power? That was the end of the interviews. I remember I was writing about, the Northern State Parkway and how he got the land for the parkway, and how, if you look at the parkway, there are a couple of places, if I say something wrong, it's been too long since I read it, but there are a couple of places where the Northern State Parkway suddenly goes down like this. You say, then it goes back up to it. You say, why did they curve like this? Well, I found out from going through letters that the reason, one of the curves is because Otto Kahn, his cousin, had a golf course, an 18-hole golf course on his estate. He was the robber baron, this is the golf, and Robert Moses detoured around his golf course. So I spent a lot of time thinking, how can I bring this up without, but the moment I mentioned the word Otto Kahn, I saw his face change. because he was so much smarter than me, and he knew what I had found, you know, and the interview sort of ended very quickly, and I never saw him again. So you say, yes, I learned a lot about his boyhood, but from Robert Moses I learned really nothing about his use of power.
You never met LBJ, did you?
It depends what you mean by met. I never talked to him.
Right.
I once was covering him when he ran against Goldwater. I was a substitute political reporter, so I was substituting on some weekend, and he came over to the press group, you know, and shook our hands. So I shook his hand with him. No, I never talked to him.
Did you realize when you moved to the Hill Country that LBJ was going to be a multi-volume project?
Oh, you ask good questions. I got to think. Let me just think what the answer to that is. Yes, because, you know, The Power Broker, as you read it, is about 700,000 words. But I wrote 1,050,000 words. That meant that Bob Gottlieb and I, working together, had to cut 350,000 words. That's a lot of words. And Gottlieb has said on television that I didn't cut it because it was dragging or was too. He said, I cut 350,000. He said something really nice of really good material. And I felt we were cutting material that I wanted people to know about, and now they wouldn't. And I remember I asked him once about doing it in 2 volumes, and his reply was, I might get people interested in Robert Moses once. I'll never get them interested in him twice. But I felt that there's a lot of stuff I learned about Robert Moses and power that no one's ever going to know because we cut it. And I didn't want that to happen again. So when we decided to do the Lyndon Johnson, I said to him I wanted to do it in volumes, and he agreed immediately.
Yeah, Robert Gottlieb was quite the legendary editor here in New York City, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Did you work with him throughout most of the LBJ years?
Well, I worked with him until he died for 50 years, yeah. Fighting all the time.
So, Robert Caro, we're here in your apartment in New York City, but life wasn't always Upper West Side for you, was it?
No.
Where did you start?
Not.
Where did you start?
Where did I start? Oh, I grew up on Central Park West, on 94th Street. Then I went to Princeton. After that, we got married. I was a reporter, so we lived on Long Island. Then I quit to do The Power Broker, so we were broke for 7 years. So we lived in an apartment in the Bronx that we truly hated, I have to say. Yeah.
When did you meet Ina?
I met Ina at Princeton, and there's a picture of the very moment we met. What that's a picture of, they have a dance there called the Prince Tiger Dance. It's the Daily Princetonian, the newspaper, and the Tiger, the humor magazine. So I was the managing editor of the Daily Princetonian. So I was like the MC at this big dance. And Ina came dancing by with some guy, actually he was from Yale, and they were taking pictures of me, you know, for the paper. And I said, let's take a picture of her. And I jumped down from the stand and went over and cut in on her, basically. And that's the moment we met. That is literally the moment.
You didn't even know her name in that picture?
No. That is literally the moment we met. So you say the picture is cracked you'd like to get it restored and blown up. I'm afraid to take it out of the frame because it's so precious.
Now, you mentioned that you grew up on Central Park West here,
Yes.
In New York City. What kind of work did your parents do?
Well, my mother died when I was young. My father was just a small businessman.
Could you imagine, besides a few years you lived in the Hill Country or on Long Island, not living in New York City?
Well, there are times we didn't live in New York City, like when we lived in Texas. When I was a reporter for Newsday on Long Island, we lived on Long Island. I always missed New York. I love New York, yes. I love the west side of New York.
So, in a sense, we're living in Robert Moses's world that he created, aren't we?
New York City is very largely a world that he created. In other words, the fact that everybody has to drive everywhere, that we're so dependent on cars, that's Robert Moses. The fact that it's a segregated city, so segregated, that's Robert Moses. The fact that it's never had enough money for education, that it's put it into public works, that's Robert Moses. So when I say never, I meant during the 50 years he was in power, yes.
Was he a dirty politician when it came to money?
Oh, no. Well, you ask that's a very complicated question. You ask good questions. Let me take back my answer, which I said no, that's not true. He wasn't a dirty politician, but he used the power and the money of his public authorities to, I hate to use the word, to buy politicians. Politicians knew if they wanted public housing development or they didn't want it in their area, Robert Moses was the guy to see, okay? The city wanted to, up to World War II, the city had built subway after subway. It was building subways to all the new areas. It intended to build subways to northeastern Queens and the northeastern Bronx, which is where the city was starting to develop. Then World War II came, so there was no building of any sort, subway or anything else. When World War II ended, the mayor made Robert Moses construction coordinator, which meant he had control over all construction projects. That was the end of building subways. That was the beginning of building highways. So to this day, northeastern Queens and the northeastern part of the Bronx has no subway connection. You can't get in here except by car or bus.
And was there money involved in that, do you think?
Well, I think you're using, let me think of the correct answer to that for just a second. Well, the answer is yes, but not in the sense that you mean exactly, but in a way in the sense that you meant. If he was building a huge housing project, okay, the construction contracts would go to companies that were connected to the Democratic organization. The legal fees would go to the legal firms that were connected to the Democratic organization. The public relations work would go to public relations firms that were connected to the Democratic. So he can, without it being out-and-out payoffs, which is what you're talking about, he centralized in himself all the forces of corruption, all the forces, economic forces that controlled how New York City developed. And it developed in the way that he wanted, which was a city dependent on cars. They used to say to him, build a subway. You know, he said, what's a subway but a hole in the ground? That's a Robert Moses quote. A highway, he said, there's something beautiful in a highway, in the sweet bay. It's like he didn't understand the growing congestion from automobiles and all. He never had to experience that because he rode in a huge car. I was in the back seat with him. You felt like you were in some terrific living room. It was upholstered in the, you know, General Motors gave him a car every year, and it was upholstered in this beautiful leather, and he had a little desk there to write in, and the windows were forward. You didn't feel like you were driving, you know? So in a way, he didn't experience driving the way hundreds of thousands of people do every day of their lives.
Reading your book, The Power Broker, reading, working, your short book that came out in 2019, every time I read about Robert Moses, I think about J. Edgar Hoover. Survived many administrations, hidden power, never elected, et cetera, et cetera.
That's a very good comparison, yes.
Why were mayors of New York City and presidents scared of these two men?
Well, I can't talk about J. Edgar Hoover because I don't know enough about him. If you want to know why Robert Moses had so much power, that's really what The Power Broker's about, because it's not the way we think of power being exercised. It's more a man who, through his genius, had centralized all the forces that politicians are interested in his own person as head, and the public authorities, but he was the public authority, and therefore he had the control, he had the say. He had more power than any mayor, more power than any governor, more power than any mayor and governor combined, and he kept this power for whatever I say in The Power Broker. It's been too long since I wrote it, for 44 years? I don't remember. He kept it forever. You know, it was really unique. He was a genius. I mean, you know, when he was young, he was a reformer, and he thought he was going to be elected to things in New York City. He ran for governor once. People got a look at him. I mean, what was Robert Moses like? When the people got a look at him, he lost by what is still to this day the largest plurality that anybody ever lost the statewide election in New York. And he started by being very popular. But when you got a look at Robert Moses, you realized that you were facing authoritarianism, that you were facing someone who's going to have his own way. And he's so smart that he's going to find a way to have his own way, even if it doesn't seem possible.
You write.
You know, there's a letter that sums it all up. It's in the LaGuardia papers. You know, that Einer and I would go through the LaGuardia papers in the municipal archives. LaGuardia becomes mayor in 1934. He doesn't realize what Robert Moses is, the power he has, because he's been a congressman in Washington. Now he's the mayor. And he tries to make Moses do something, and Moses just basically says, I don't remember the details, no, he does it his way. And LaGuardia writes him a letter that basically says, the exact quotes in the book, I can't. Listen, I'm mayor. You work for me. And Moses writes on to LaGuardia, Mayor, you better read the contracts. And there were the contracts to build the Triborough Bridge and the other bridges. And of course, they gave the power not to the mayor, but to Robert Moses. And LaGuardia realizes it then. And every mayor thereafter came to that realization that Moses had the power.
And he controlled the money at the same time.
Controlled
all that money.
Yes.
Ina has been your partner in your work for years.
Yes.
For all of your working life, hasn't she?
Yes.
And does she dive into the boxes like you do?
Yes. Ina's a great researcher. So we work together going through papers, yeah.
These shelves, these bookcases look custom made, are they?
Yes. Ina designed this whole room. We didn't have enough room for all our books, so this is what Ina did. So behind this whole wall, we have another 24 feet of books. In fact,
there's the Power Broker up there.
Yeah, I wanted to show you something. I was looking for a first edition. Let me see if I can open this.
Oh, this is fantastic.
No, I don't have a first. I don't have a first edition.
I got to say, you are one of the most organized journalists I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you know, I'm not normally, I learned I had to, the books took so long to do that you forgot where you had everything. I made myself get organized. It's true, because you're writing about something that you learned about 7 years ago. You better know where to look for it.
You know, when we were back at your office, you mentioned, you showed us the Teddy Kennedy file of your interviews with Senator Kennedy.
Yes.
Did he share his brother's opinions of LBJ?
I'm not going to answer that because I don't remember the answer, okay?
Okay. But the Kennedy-Johnson feud was real, correct?
Well, Bobby Kennedy, I'm writing about that now. Robert Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, which I started to talk about in the last volume, they were two men who hated each other. You know, you don't like to use a word like hate because it sounds so stupid and overstated, but there was real hatred between Robert Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson. It started long before Johnson was president. It started when Bobby was the counsel for his brother's Senate Investigating Committee. I forget the title of it. And I asked George Reedy, who was Johnson's press secretary and a really close confidant, I said, why was this? He said, did you ever see two strange dogs that came into a room and the hair rises on their backs and the growl begins? He said, that's the two of them. From the moment they met, they hated each other. And of course, it goes on in the book I'm writing now, when Johnson fears Robert Kennedy, fears that he's going to run against him in '68. And Robert Kennedy just despises Lyndon Johnson. And it's a real story. You know, you say, oh, I love telling this story. You can't mess it up. Even I can't mess it up. It's so dramatic.
Yeah, Johnson drops out in March of '68, makes his announcement that Kennedy's running, but he's assassinated June of '68.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all night, Lyndon Johnson is asking his assistants, is he dead yet? Is he dead yet?
Mr. Caro, I happen to notice that there's a whole shelf of awards, and I'd like you to walk through those if you're willing to show us those. And more books in the pantry.
Well, I don't know what I can tell you about these. Except
Well, you've got 2 Pulitzer Prizes. Where are they in this?
Well, they're at the New York Historical Society already.
Oh, at the permanent Caro exhibit.
Yes, there is.
Is that where most of your archives will eventually end up?
All my archives will end up there. A lot of them are there now.
What is there now? Because we looked at a lot of your archives in the office, too.
Well, yes, but there's I have a lot of files, so I gave them already all the Power Broker files except the interviews, and I gave them most of my notes and things for the first couple of volumes, and they're indexing them right now, and they're making them available to people, and I'm really thrilled because I've had a number, actually just 3, young historians who are doing books who are using those archives already. And that makes me feel great because what's in them, a lot of it you can't find anywhere else. And I think they provide an insight into American history. So I'm just thrilled with the New York Historical Society. I'm just absolutely thrilled that they have the archives. They're making them available to people, and eventually all the files that you looked at in my office will be in the New York Historical Society. When I interviewed people and I took notes on them, eventually all those notes will be in the archives at the New York Historical Society. And that's not available anywhere else. I must say I'm a good interviewer. I don't know if I'm good in other things, but I'm a good interviewer, and I get people to tell me things, or they tell me things that are an insight into American history. So little of it gets into the books. You know, Peter, you say, of all the stuff I learned about this or that, some tiny percentage is actually in the books. And you feel bad about that. You say, oh, but this is so important, but it didn't fit into the story in the books. But you say, as long as it's in the archives and someone else is interested in this period or this incident, it's there for them to learn about. That's why I'm so happy about it.
Do you ever go down and see the archives or check in with them?
Yeah, I do. It says Robert A. Caro Study Area, and behind, so there's a number of desks there that you're supposed to sit at if you're using the archives. And behind it is all these, eventually there'll be all these file cabinets full of my notes. So I'm really, you know, there's few things, I mean, it's thrilling to me that they're there. When I was a boy, I lived on Central Park West, so I used to walk down Central Park West. I wanted to be a writer. I knew even then I wanted to be a writer when I was a little kid. And there would be the New York Historical Society. To have my papers there now, and to have a permanent exhibit about my life there is really something that means more to me than I can actually say. They were discussing how much they were going to pay me for it, and I had to tell my representative, I don't care. Wasn't supposed to say that. but they're there now.
Sometimes, because you spend so much time researching it in history, does it impact your current worldview?
Yes. Well, for one thing, when you read the paper in the morning, you wonder what's not there, because now when you look back on, let's say the 1960s, on Vietnam, how the newspapers were reporting it then, And now you have Johnson's telephone conversations with McNamara, say, or with General Westmoreland, and you know what was really happening. I won't say that the newspapers were false, but it's like the shadow to the substance, you know. It's not really what's happening. Now we can know what's really happening because you hear Lyndon Johnson saying it to McNamara on the telephone. Yeah.
Well, we walked over here originally because I wanted to ask you about what we're seeing here on this shelf. National Book Award. What else do we have here?
Well, this is the National Humanities Medal. I got this from President Obama. There's a medal here from President Clinton. I can't remember which one it is. This is a letter that a medal that the American Academy of Arts and Letters gives only every 6 years for history, and so I got it. So I was very proud of that.
Do these mean anything to you? Do these mean something to you?
Well, this means something to me, and this is the first one I met. This was when it says this is for Robert Caro in 1963, which is 37 and 26. What's that, 63 years
It's a long time ago.
This was the first medal I won. It's from the Society of Silurians. Silurians are dinosaurs. So this is old newspapermen. So I admire old newspapermen.
Was that for your investigative reporting that you were doing at the time?
Yes. This is for a series I wrote for Newsday. It says for Misery. It says, I got it in 1963. Einar and I went to get it. We were so thrilled that night. I never thought I'd get another one. That's the first one I ever won.
Do you know, you mentioned 1963. Do you remember November 21st, 1963?
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was in the desert in Arizona doing this series. I was one of the last people in America to learn about the assassination. I was then doing this series about, they were selling desert land in the middle of the Mojave Desert as retirement home sites in the sun, mainly to retired PBA, the Patrolman Benevolent Association, and retired firemen, just gypping them. There's nothing there but desert land. So I was in the middle of this desert land with somebody that was taking me around. And the radio reception, in that time you drove down from Las Vegas and suddenly you were in the desert. And there was no town around or anything. And the radio reception all you got was static. At the end of that day, we're driving back, and the first thing I remember hearing was Governor Connolly's wounds was I said, Governor Connolly, what's this about?
A matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark. I was on Simmons Freeway earlier, and even the freeway was jam-packed with spectators waiting their chance to see the president as he made his way towards the trademark. It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route. There's numerous people running up the hill alongside Elm Street, there by the Simmons Freeway. Several police officers are rushing up the hill at this time. Stand by just a moment, please. Something has happened in the motorcade route. Stand by, please. Parkland Hospital, there has been a shooting. Parkland Hospital has been advised to stand by for a severe gunshot wound. I repeat, a shooting in the motorcade in the downtown area. Parkland Hospital has been advised to stand by for a severe gunshot wound. The president's car is now going past me. The limousine is now traveling at a very high rate of speed. Secret Service men standing up in the limousine. They are armed with submachine guns. It appears as though someone in the limousine might have been hit by the gunfire.
Then static came in, and we couldn't hear anything. And I didn't really hear about the assassination until we got back near the highway where the radio reception came in. That was in the evening. So that's how I found out about the assassination.
Is New York better today than it was in 2001?
You'd like to say yes, But the fact is, you don't really know. We don't really know. There's another there's another New York. Over 500,000 people live in housing projects, public housing projects. I don't know how they are. I know they were constructed actually by Robert Moses on the cheapest thing. So the elevators were always breaking down, the electrical systems were going out. Then you say, how is the education of all these young people? I don't know the answers to any of these questions. You really hope we have a new mayor. He seems to understand a lot of this stuff, so I'm hoping that the emphasis of the city is on helping to bring its poorest people back into really part of the city, but I don't know how it's working out.
Mr. Caro, what's that book that you always wanted to write, but just never quite got to? Did you have a topic?
Yeah, Franklin Roosevelt. As it happens, what really happened, my books are about what really happened, how politics, how laws really got passed or didn't get passed. We don't know enough about what Roosevelt did in the 100 days. No one's done, there are a lot of books on it. And a lot of people are going to get angry at me for saying this, but they don't explain how he got all these things through, Social Security, all these things that we think of today, how Roosevelt got it through. Now, Roosevelt, you ask, is there a book you'd like to do? Yeah, you'd like to do Franklin Roosevelt. A doctor says to him, you'll never walk again. You'll never be able to go to the bathroom again unless someone carries you. And you decide to become president of the United States, and you become president, and you save the country in the Depression. And all my life I say, oh, I wish I was doing that book. As it happens, a friend of mine named Meg Jacobs is doing that book at the moment, and I envy her for doing it. Yeah.
Robert Caro, we very much appreciate your giving us a tour of your office and letting us into your home to spend a few minutes with you.
It's been a pleasure being interviewed by you.
Tonight on C-SPAN's